Hi, I'm Bianca Tarrant, co-founder of Our Cow, and welcome back to Paddock Talk. If you've been following our story, you'll know everything we do at Our Cow comes back to one thing: our farmers. The ones who put the work in, raise the animals with care, and never stop chasing better. In this episode, we're heading to the beautiful Dorrigo Plateau in New South Wales to meet fourth generation farmer Steve and his wife Michelle from Eungella Shorthorns, the team behind some of the most marbled, mouth-watering steaks you've ever eaten. You'll hear how a family-run stud with world-class genetics is producing beef that's literally a cut above the rest. How they're navigating life on the land with 3 kids and a whole lot of heart, and why partnering with Our Cow means more than just getting paid fairly. It's about keeping good farming in good hands. Welcome to Paddock Talk, Steve and Michelle.
Hey guys.
How are you?
Good.
Thanks for joining us. Firstly, I just wanted to start with Paddock Talk. So we named this podcast Paddock Talk after your daughter, Abby, and her take on Paddock Talk. So can you just give us what does Paddock Talk mean at your house, and what's Abby's understanding of Paddock Talk?
Basically, when we're out in the paddock, if anyone's worked with animals, sometimes it can be a stressful event.
Sometimes, most of the time.
Well, it's pretty hard to discipline children on something that you fail yourself. So we sort of have to release the reins a little bit. So the kids have a buffer of that you can use words that normally in public settings and around other people you can't use. So, and Abby being the younger, she grabs hold of those reins and off she goes. She grabs that bit and she runs. So Abby has quite a reputation of pushing those boundaries to what language she likes to use. And it's someone that is quite a swearer. Some days she'll make me blush and think, oof. What mum use like that? So she's very well at, putting the words together, and it's sort of, and she's pretty good at tuning her father sometimes with said words. So we sort of have a buffer of that, if something happens, then you're within your right to say,
she's the most straight shooting 8-year-old we've ever met in our life, little Abby, isn't she?
Yes, she's there's no
know where you stand with her.
So that's why we named it Paddock Talk, because there's things that we'll probably talk about in this podcast that you only really talk about in the paddock. You don't really talk about, I guess, things that farmers go through every day and what life is like on the farm, outside of the farm. So that was the reason why we called the podcast Paddock Talk after little Abby. So, her claim to fame.
Yep. Love you, Ab. So
you go.
Stevo, you're 4th generation on the farm and the kids are 5th generation. Can you give us a little bit of a background story about Eungella Shorthorns and the history of your place and up on the Dorrigo Plateau there?
Yep. If you go back far enough, my great-grandfather was down off the Dorrigo Plateau, down on Thora, Upper Thora, and then they bought some mountain country, which would have been proper mountain country back in the day. So they had the low country, the same as what you would see, basically in your snowy mountains or whatever. They had the real low country and then the high country. So over time, we've ended up staying up in the mountains, and and I don't know whether that was the right thing or what, but that's where we've stayed. Always had shorthorn cattle. So traditionally, like the shorthorn breed is a dual breed, so it can be milked and can be used for beef. So back in the real early days, it was used for that dual purpose. This was butter, because we're too far away from, your shops and that for fresh milk. It was used. Cream was collected. The skim milk, which people love nowadays, was fed to the pigs, and the cream was turned into butter, and then the butter was shipped out to everywhere around the world, sort of thing, down to Sydney.
That's awesome.
So that's sort of it.
How did you get to where you are now, and you and Shell and the kids running the farm? Obviously, it's a hell of a thing to go through and been running the property yourselves. How did you get to, I guess, where you are now and what your current operation kind of looks like?
Yep. debt, but yeah, like we're a large family, so we ended up having to buy the main section where the house is, where the family farm, probably 12 years ago now. So we bought that, and then we moved. We were doing some potatoes and veggies as well. We went out of that and went straight into cattle.
Yeah.
And also on that, because we borrowed more than we probably wanted to, we moved into contracting, and which we'd always had machinery, but we'd never gone and worked for everyone else. So we swung around, had the family farm, and into contracting. But when we first bought the farm, we went straight into drought. So that decision was made. We're like, oh, how are we going to do this? Potatoes were absolutely horrendous. So we decided, no, let's get into the contracting. But the only problem with that was then we were left with all the cows and that. So Shell ended up on the road. She grazed them on the road. Our youngest, our oldest, that then Q, he helped Shell graze along the road, TSR. So, and then we had Chloe. So she was a newborn baby. So Chloe and Hugh done the TSR running, and I went away contracting. So, yeah.
So a drover on the road with a newborn baby. Shell.
Yeah. Nothing gives you work ethic like that.
That is true.
It's not really like your typical like farmer's wife story, is it? Like with 2 kids, like it was completely opposite to that, wasn't it? Shell raising kids on the road.
Yeah. Like you just did it. You look back and you think, geez, how did I do it? And that's probably why I was such a cranky shit most of the time, but because you're just running on adrenaline and whatnot. But you just do it. And and send it and hope for the best. There's no option when you.
And you think back about it now, and when Hugh was up the other end by himself on his little 80 blocking the other end of the road, and you think, well, should we have had a 6-year-old boy on his own at the one end of the cows and Shell a couple of k's down the road at the other end?
He did have a dog. He did have a dog.
But that's just what you do to make it work. So. Yeah.
And was like your family always into Shorthorns, Steve? Like, has that been the breed that's always been run on the farm?
Absolutely. Yep. No, we haven't never had any other breed of cows. Like we've always had Shorthorns. We've had a few crossbreds come through over the years, but it's always been Shorthorns and always been predominantly purebred Shorthorns.
So there's a long line of like generational breeding that's gone into your herd, hasn't there?
Oh, absolutely. We've still got original cow families that have been here since I was a boy and long before that. And our old Elsie lines and Surprise lines and all of them lines of cows that we've just kept breeding through. They've still got the same name. So, which gets quite confusing in the yards because they're all named after their great-great-great-grandmother, and I'm talking about her when the kids are trying to draft off. And
so you can have, like, we'll say cut out the Elsie, but you'll have 6 Elsies in the herd, and so the kids will be cutting out the Elsie they know, but he'll be going, oh, no, I want that Elsie, or you'll go, oh, the red Elsie, but there'll be 4 red Elsies. Like, yeah.
Then the Paddock Talk starts.
Yeah, then Abby tells him where to go. So,
so I guess like with the breeding that's gone into the herd, that like goes into my next question. Like the beef that we get that comes through from your farm is like by far some of the best that we've ever seen. Like the marble content, the eating quality, all of that sort of stuff. So like what goes into producing beef of that quality? Because it's not just, here's a bull, here's a cow, and we produce this beautiful animal. Like I know that you guys are investing heavily in the type of genetics, the herd. So tell us a little bit about like what goes into producing the quality of beef that you guys are.
Yep. And it's also always revolving around like what type of animal. If we go back to the 90s, MLA wanted lean beef and everyone was doing the feedlot job. So they were great, big, long, tall animals, that all went to the feedlot. Whereas nowadays we're breeding quite stout, smaller, like we've brought the frame score down in the cattle and really chase that marbling and meat quality. And to do that, we've had to also go way back and find semen that is, we're talking like in the 70s, bulls that before we went down that road for a little while that were all done on grass, all, being able to fatten and get that meat quality in. So we've been, hunting around, and there's a lot of nights where you're sitting there going back through pedigrees to find the type of animal that we want. So, and then every time a load of cattle gets done, it's going through that with a fine-tooth comb and working out which ones have really hit the mark and which ones haven't, and then being able to try and genetically select so we can be more accurate and more of them hit that market.
Yeah, I'll just touch on that too, Steve-O. Like, from a breeder's perspective, your operation has probably changed quite significantly since working with us as well. And, I've seen your cows and everything change, the bulls that you keep and select to put over, and what sort of cows and heifers that you're keeping. Like, can you just touch on that and how that's changed over the years?
Yeah, like absolutely. Like, to really hit the grass-fed job in the carcass of around that 200 kilos, we've actually probably brought our frames, our end weight of our cows back about 200, 250 kilos. So quite significant. And in real terms, probably a foot and a half off the height of them cows. We've gone to more stockier, thicker cows that are able to lay that fat down and hit the market quicker and be able to turn off grass-fed product.
Yeah.
What do you think the difference is between like turning off a grass-fed product versus like a product that goes to a feedlot? Like what is that? What's the difference between producing those two type animals?
The main difference is, I guess, knowing where your market is and then breeding that animal to fit that market. Like, we're after a more consistent, moderate framed animal that can really lay down the fat and put the not only fat on the outside, but in the meat, so we got that superior eating product. Whereas if you're going to like a feedlot, you're not actually chasing that, and you don't have to probably worry as much about your pasture to get that animal spot on. Like, we're feeding, like, we can't let the minerals drop out of the cattle. You've got to keep it really consistent, and that to be able to keep them cattle rolling ahead, so you don't end up with the...
Well, you're getting that finishing like product. Like, what we are bringing is a finished animal where as opposed to selling into your feedlot markets, you don't have to have your animal finished. Like, they finish the animal on grain. So we don't have to worry about your fats and that sort of stuff if you're selling to the feedlot, where we have to make sure that everybody's fat, in good health, and is ready to eat.
Yeah.
So
market spec.
Would you say like it's significantly more challenging to...
We always say that, don't we? Like being a farmer that produces and that finishes cattle, like for a grass-fed job like our cow, it is freaking hard. Like, you have to be an unbelievably good farmer to be able to do that. Like, and I think that goes to say, like, the type of pastures that you guys are putting in. Like, talk to us a little bit about, like, what does the pastures look like at your place versus, what you were doing before maybe, and shed a bit of light on that, because I know that's something that you guys invest heavily in, is like your pastures, your fertilizing, your compost tea, your witchcraft, all that sort of stuff, Steve, that you're into.
Yeah, like it just simply comes down to good animal husbandry. Like, we need the pastures to be extremely balanced. Like, there's no use feeding them something there, it's going straight through the animal. We need that pasture to be in there and balance, so they can really, really thrive and hit the markets. Like, whereas if you were sort of doing another, like if you're doing the feedlot job, it doesn't matter if the steers are skinnier or leaner, like they're doing it. But when we're aiming for the paddock to plate scenario like we are, you need that animal to be at peak. So, there's a lot of pasture work goes in, a lot of and fertilizers, and not just fertilizer, like your balance, getting all your balances of the soil.
Well, everything stems from your soil. Like, if your soil's not living, you've got nothing. Like, take away the cattle, take away everything else, it comes down to that core of your soil. So if your soil's not alive and thriving, you're not going to get the job done. You're not going to have healthy cattle. So once that's done, and that's where we've sort of come back to, especially with our agronomist, and that just changing the way you see your soil too, and just sort of drawing on his knowledge and what we know, and that just keeping that soil alive. And then once your soil's alive, your grass is going to grow. And if your grass is going to grow, you're going to fatten your cattle. So it's all sort of, like everyone says, if it all starts in your soil. So that's probably been our biggest thing, is to get our soil. And I mean, being in Dorrigo, we're pretty lucky. You've got good soil to start with, but it's hungry. We get high rain, so it leaches out. So we sort of have to keep feeding it all the time, and that's just sort of been a real. The last couple of years, we've really sort of tried to expand our knowledge on that, of how we do it, because everywhere is different. Like your soil's different to our soil. Queensland's different. Every soil's different. So we need to sort of go, well, how do we get our soil to respond? So, and bringing in a lot of your microbes and learning how they all work too has been a big thing, hasn't it?
Getting the balance. But I've never seen our soil here be so, like, you go and stick the shovel in and it's just full of worms, and it's really pleasing. We've had to put a lot of lime on, and with our agronomist Perco and that, we've been able to get in and get out. We always had good microbes and stuff in the soil, but they weren't really balanced. So it was more just getting the balance right of all of everything to get it to then flourish, and then your pastures do better as well. So it's sort of just starts there and just flows through, and then, because there's no use having the best genetic animal in the world if it's starving hungry. Like it has to all tie in together.
And making sure, and like our biggest thing is that for every mouthful of grass they eat, it's got so much nutrition, everything they need, rather than having to go and eat 10 mouthfuls of grass. What they can get out of that one mouthful is a lot more nutritious for them than eating shitty, crappy grass, So that also, the energy of that, having to then graze a lot more to get something that's not, you want them to reduce their grazing as much for the nutrients. Is that? Yeah. So
and doing that also increases our stocking rate. So now we're running 1 through summer to 1.5 per acre, which is, even for this country, that's pretty impressive.
I think it goes back to, like, we always say, people, there's such a buzzword at the moment around like regenerative agriculture, and do you like regeneratively farm, and do your farmers do like all this sort of stuff. But like, if I think about all of our farmers, and I said to most of them, if I asked them like, are you a regenerative farmer? They would probably say, what the fuck is that? But then
say no, because we're not regenerating. We're continuing what we're doing, and we're evolving. I mean, it's the same as people for anything. You always evolve. Any business you do, you're always evolving. So, okay, what we did 10 years ago is different now. Not saying what we did back then was bad, but we've improved, agriculture as a whole, the technology and everything's coming along a lot more. So,
like the regenerative ag, like your rotating stock. My grandfather was rotating stock here, like.
It's not a new thing. Like
dairy farmers have been doing it for generations. And I think that a lot of it's like anything in any industry, they find words to go, okay, well, we can monetize this. Let's, and we can sell courses for X amount. Come and have a look at what we're doing, and a lot of people, it's like reinventing the wheel sometimes. And it's like, no one's doing it's trying to make bad farmers and good farmers by using buzzwords.
Yeah. I think like it's easy to put a label on it from like an unknowing consumer's perspective, but like when you're in it every day, like you guys are doing that, and you guys are taking steps on your farm that it's like the best thing that you can possibly do for your farm, for your soil, for your pasture, for the next generation, like for your kids to come on and to be able to continue that through. So like people get so caught up in buzzwords, but I always say like most of our farmers would have no idea like what, if you said to them, are you a regenerative farmer? They would go, I don't know what that means. But you listen to what they do on their farm, and it ticks all the boxes and more. But like farmers aren't necessarily about putting labels on what they do. Like they just do what they do. Like you said, they've been doing it. Your grandfather was doing it because he knew it was the best thing to do for the soil. So like, yeah, people getting caught up in buzzwords when farmers just naturally do the best thing that they can, I think is,
And then it's hard to be a bad farmer. Like anything in any business, you're not going to stay afloat financially if you're crap at what you do. It's like any business, isn't it?
You have to-
if you're
it's got to
quite-
be sustainable and profitable as well.
Exactly. So,
I remember a Canadian was over here once touring around the farms, and we went past a couple of pretty average farms. And he goes, I guess that's the climate. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, like without you guys having to get through 6 months of snow, an average farmer is gone within a season or two over there. Like, if you're not prepared, you don't last in Canada. He's like, whereas, and it sort of, it was something that I took on board, like, yeah, we need to be prepared for anything that goes, a drought or a wet season or whatever else. Like, yeah, like it was just the way he said it. Like, I guess your summers can maybe let bad farmers survive. Whereas over there, when you need to plan, you need to be organised. If you're not, you don't survive. So,
yeah, definitely.
And that's a big thing with being grass-fed with us, that, we have to prepare. Like, we do have, we don't have Canadian winters, but we do have at least a good 6-week period every year in our winter where we don't get growth. So, it does impact us. So, and then with our high rain, we have massive amounts of, weeks where you can't get out, like, you're bogging up paddocks. So we have to put up silage because we can't put grain. We don't feed grain. So we make silage. So we try to aim to have at least 400 to 600 bales of silage a year.
You're preparing like a year ahead for the year to come, basically.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess we've been working together for probably a bit over 5 years now. Can you tell us about your farming business, what it was like when we first met and compared to where you guys are sitting now?
Yeah, like when we first met, we met through a friend of ours, John, and we sort of seen what you guys were doing, and it was very early days. Like, like you guys were in the butcher shop, and like I remember thinking, like, talking to you, Dave, and saying, can you take 5 or 6? Like, Casino Meatworks is a long way to run me little truck with 3 or 4 head, like, and whereas now it's all semi-loads, it's 30 or it's 50, like it's, there's no more days of 4 or 5 running to Casino on a Monday afternoon, which ended up being Monday midnight and then stopping. So, yeah, but in more than that, it's enabled us to. I no longer go contracting, so we're back on the.
That has its good points and bad points. So we're the 24/7.
And we're sort of going from around that 100 cows, and then keeping all that progeny to now we're significantly over 200 cows, and all that progeny goes through our cow, and also on that. We leased 6 farms. Yeah, we leased 6 farms as well. And we we sell our bulls to people, and then we try and buy that progeny back. And then we also support very like-minded farmers. We buy their calves in as well, and we buy in around that 400 calves a year as well. So we're significantly larger than when we first started. So I think we're about three times to what we were 5 years ago.
It's so amazing, mate. We love to see how much you guys have grown, and so proud of being able to see how your business has flourished over the years as well. So I'm very grateful that you've stuck with us the whole time, mate.
Oh, it's been a great relationship. Like, not only like we get along great, but it's been a good. We know what we're aiming for. Like genetically or breeding. You're not going, am I going to be able to sell this in 12 months' time? We know where the market is. We know what the specs are that we need to be doing, and we breed for that and we plan for that. So it's to know where you want to be in 12 months' time is pretty well. You can budget. Whereas farming's always been one of those things that's very hard to budget.
Hard to know where you're going.
Yeah.
Okay. We've spoken a little bit over the last couple of weeks, Steve, about like the season and you guys, everything that you've had got going on over the last 12 months. Like, I know it's been a really challenging last few months for you guys on the farm? Like you've told me before, like this is probably the hardest year that you have ever had on the farm. So why don't you just shed a little bit of light as to like what has your reality looked like over the last few months? Like what challenges have you guys faced? Because I think, like we said before, producing food is getting harder and harder to do. And I think like consumers just see, you know, a steak turn up on the supermarket shelf or even their our cow box get delivered to their front door, but they don't actually realize what goes on behind the scenes. Like what is a day in the life of your farm been like the last few
and then
months?
obviously the challenges that have been happening as well.
Yeah. I guess since Cyclone Alfred, which we're still hearing in the news, was a bit of a non-event. Yeah, well, up here in the mountains, it was a massive event. It was astronomical. Like we had nearly 1.5 meters of rain in 4 days. It just absolutely annihilated. It was just like a Queensland thunderstorm that went for 4 days. Like it didn't let up. It was absolutely huge. It washed roads away. It washed, our tracks, our main access through the farm got washed. And then normally we go, we've had a big flood. We're hilly, we get over it. But this time it just kept raining. It just kept raining. Like for 3 months, I think we had 7 fine days. Like we're now over 3 meters of rain. So, And yeah, it was unbelievable. And it was so wet, it was extremely hard to feed livestock. So we ended up, thankfully we have a road around our farm, so we're able to go along and throw bales out. And instead of our cattle rotating around, it was just a matter of opening gates and letting them go where they could, because the grass become so waterlogged, they were nearly eating 100% water. So we had to get the roughage and the dry matter into them to be able to survive. And then on top of that, with our soils being so healthy and active, we've also had a grub come along that doesn't surface, it just eats the roots, a cockchafer. And so while all the roots, it's been so free and able to move around so super easy, it's been eating all the grass roots. And normally your grass just sends down new roots. Because it's so wet, the grass couldn't. So then the cows would literally eat the grass and pull the grass out. So it was just a perfect storm up here. Like it really was. Like, yeah, like every farmer says, mud's better than drought. But I guess in most places it is. But when it gets that extreme, you couldn't get feed to them. You couldn't get, if you tried to put mineral out, it'd just get waterlogged, or they'd bog it up so much where they were going into it, that was getting a metre deep, like, because our soil's extremely deep topsoil. So it's, it was super challenging. It really was. So, and then when you come out of that, we had no grass. So then we ended up having to replant nearly the entire farm again. So,
yeah. And I guess like for people in the city, thinking, the grass is coming out by the roots, it might be interrupting my lawn or whatever, but just like, for people in the city, an understanding of having to replant your entire pasture base of your farm and the investment and time that takes to do that, to be able to feed an animal, is monumental. So like, I can't imagine what you guys have been through over the last few months with that grub and the amount of rain that you've had and everything like that. It has been such a challenging year for you guys, but like I always, every time I speak to you lately, and you too, Shell, like you're always so positive about everything, and you always keep your head up in your like really resilient guys. So which most farmers are, but like it's a real credit to you to keep pushing forward and getting through these challenging times, because I know it won't last.
Yeah, no, and like it is been challenging, but it's one of them things. But it also comes back to what we spoke about, but there a while ago, is being prepared. We had 2 years, nearly 3 years worth of hay and silage packed away. So yeah, we've absolutely annihilated into that, but we haven't had to destock. Like a lot of people have destocked, and now the prices are going up because of the rain in South Australia, Victoria. We have our stock.
We haven't had to buy feed in.
Yeah, we haven't bought feed in. It's just, it comes down to that. And you guys are always saying it, that planning and making a plan and sticking to it, sort of getting, I think that is probably one of the biggest things, is getting that plan and sticking to it and knowing that you can do it. So like if we'd got to this stage and didn't have that feed, it would have been, because what they basically eat what we put out. So having that ability to have that quality feed there has kept us basically afloat.
Yeah.
Hard year you guys have been through.
Well,
I will say though, it is nice when you jump on like the Our Cow Kitchen, because sometimes I know like when it gets a bit tough, I try to stay off social media because like, you get all these people, and you're a bit fragile as it is, but you jump on like the Our Cow Kitchen and someone will put something and it just makes your day. Like I know, when it was really hard, so you get on and someone's like, oh, thank you. And that really sort of, I don't know, it just gives you a bit of a, oh, good. Like, you've come in, you've had a shit day. Like, we lost the horse. We lost the cow.
This is when Alfred was.
Yeah, we lost. Yeah, and it was like, it was really emotional time. But yeah, then you jump on there and you got someone that's
someone emailed us.
Yeah,
Took the time to email us and thank us for the quality steak they just had. Like, and yeah, she was like, oh, there's an email there, and I'm like, oh, I can't deal with that. And she's opened it and she's like, no, it's actually good. Like it's someone loved it.
And it was just like a perfect timing of you've just come in and, it's late and it's just been a really crap day. And yeah, someone had done that. And it was just like, wow, that's really cool. Like, and that's the thing that I really like about with Our Cow is that you get that connection. Not only they get that connection with you, but we get that connection with our customers. And it's nice because like when you're self-employed, you're not chasing validation from anything like that. But, it's nice to sort of go, what we're doing is right. Like, what we're producing is good. You don't, you get your feedback if you sell to JBS or whatever. But, to actually get that real in-person of, wow, that was the best steak I've ever had. Like, and you just, I don't know, it's like, yeah, that's good. Like, we're on the right track, because some days it's like, oh shit, let's fill up and let's go to the beach and to somebody else, So it's nice to have someone to go, we're right. Like, because, some days, not everything's roses and that. Like, you got to fake it till you make it. But, it is nice on those real crap days just to be able to have. Sometimes, I don't know, the universe can work sometimes right and go, here's something nice to say. And it's just
that's amazing.
That's so cool.
You're
think
going to make me cry, Shell.
Yeah.
Made me self-cry, me poor old bloody horse. That one, that done me in.
It was a tough day. And then just that timing for someone to take the time out of their day.
Yeah.
And they're probably busy and having a shit day too, and send an email was pretty cool. Yeah. Like that.
It's amazing.
And that, it's sort of not only what you're doing in the farm, but the hours I spend annoying everybody saying, what do you think of this bull I just found in Canada? Or what do you think of this genetic package I just found over bloody some queer place? And like, and what's involved in getting this semen from Argentina? Because look at this bull I just found. And like, yeah. And I knew even Hugh and everyone went, oh, what do you think of this bull? I could get semen in it maybe. And everyone's just like...
That's another thing I know for Hugh. Like, you guys have brought Hugh's cattle that he's fattened, and the chest on him pokes out when someone's put a comment about Hugh's steak, and you just sort of see that and you think, it gives them that sense of that there is positive in agriculture. Like, because sometimes it can get, you can get a bit like, and I see for him at school, because he goes to a coastal high school, there's a lot of knockers of farmers and even I shouldn't say the teachers, but like he's had people knock, you're causing this and that. So it's nice for him to go, oh yeah, there is a future in agriculture. It's just nice for him to be able to go, oh yeah, I did that. And it's not just the money side of it, but
but I hadn't even thought of Hugh's cattle that have been going through the shop and all of that. Like it's more, it's bigger and bigger, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the next gen coming through. And I think, like, to what you said before, you think about a shop like a cafe or a dress shop or something like that. Like the customer will go in there and say, oh, thanks for that meal, chef. Like it was really nice. Or I love that dress on the shelf. Like I'm going to buy another one. But as a farmer, you don't ever really get that feedback, do you? Like if you sell to a feedlot or to the yards or whatever, like you're just another bum in the shower. Like you're just a commodity. They run through all of them. But to actually get that feedback from a customer is pretty special.
Yeah.
And even in the farming world, it's almost a bit of a tall poppy syndrome. Like this guy's doing all right, so we'll bag him out or bag his cattle out. Like it's just can be a really negative space, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be at all.
Yeah, definitely. We're all here for the same reason to see agriculture succeed and have a future for the kids to come through.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Okay. Thanks, guys. Now, we always finish every episode with a recipe. So whether it's like something that... A recipe.
Sounds like Forrest Gump, mate.
Or you can just say like a box of chocolates. Something that you guys cook at home, like a favourite recipe or a favourite meal that Shell makes for you. I know I would say scones. Shell makes freaking unbelievable stuff.
I've actually got a recipe that Steve is his favourite.
Okay.
And,
tell us the story.
So, Steve, you like a boiled tongue. I know you love a boiled tongue.
Tell us the story of the boiled tongue.
Well, Steve decided to come on a farming field trip with me one day to go look at some other farmers' places and another farmer's operation. And we got served up lunch at one of our old farmers' properties.
This will be the best lunch of your life.
Yes, I did say that.
Previously, you'd been there.
I think it was like 2 weeks before I'd been there, and it was the best. Like I went there and had a full set-down steak dinner for lunch at our farmer's property. And Steve come along, and unfortunately, the lunch menu that day was a boiled tongue. But to his credit, he didn't bat an eyelid. He didn't back down. He took on that boiled tongue and demolished the whole lot. Needless to say, I ate the salad that day and I didn't sample the boiled tongue, but Steve, you're a better man than me. So is that your recipe?
No, it wasn't, but I was majorly disappointed. I just did what I always got told as a kid. If you don't like it, eat it quick. So I ate it really, really, really quick. And then I look over at Dave and Dave hasn't taken any. So anyway.
Oh dear. So that's something that Shell cooks often.
Tell us the actual recipe, mate. What's your go-to? What's your favourite meal in the kitchen that you like to cook or like to eat?
Oh, geez, like Shelley's a pretty bloody good cook. I'm pretty spoiled, to be honest.
That's why we're fat.
Like there's a lot, but I honestly don't think you can go past a really good steak. Really simple, salt, pepper, oil,
T-bone.
T-bone's your favourite, is it?
Fresh veggies out of the garden. Like
Yeah.
everything's from home.
and a good and like I'm going to come back to my old veggie growing days, like a good creamy Sebago or a
what, not chips?
no, not with that. Like if you're going to go a really good Sebago potato, like with butter,
Fresh out of the ground when you just run him under the tap and whack him.
yeah,
Oh, that's good.
Stop it.
How's the steak cooked, Caesar? How's it cooked?
Oh, if you're here, you know how have I always said to you,
Steve cooks
do you want it raw or burnt? Because that's about as good as it gets with me. So it's pretty rare usually. So, or I have too many beers and get yapping,
You
and then we
never
forget
cook
about
anything
it.
rare. It's always burnt to a signal.
Well, we'll put up your recipe on the blog post after this episode, won't we, Mika?
Yeah, big juicy T-bone with Sebago mash.
Although if you ask the kids, like it's Steve's go-to cook, like if he has to cook, it's sausages and veggies. And
Sausage, bangers and mash.
yeah, bangers and mash.
That's
No,
my go-to.
I went away.
Kids.
I went away somewhere and I come home. The kids, I was doing dinner and the kids were like, "Please, no more sausages. We can't have sausages another night. We've had sausages for a week straight."
Simple man. They didn't go hungry.
Yeah, they didn't die.
Could have been boiled tongue.
It could have been that Dave chose not to eat.
I went hungry that day.
Well, thanks, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on episode 4 of Paddock Talk. with
Love you,
myself.
Abby.
Yeah. Thanks.
Abby's Paddock Talk. We didn't get in. We'll save that stories for when we can swear a lot more.
I think Abby's top tier story probably would get frowned upon.
So save it for another episode.
So for another episode.
Well, we might have to have a adults only one to hear Abby's words she told her father. But anyway, in the whole nutshell, she was quitting and told her father him and his cows can go and she quit.
Righto, guys. Thank you very much for joining us for episode 4 of Paddock Talk. Our producers are at the very heart of our cow. They take the risk, they do the work, and they deserve more than just the slither of the value. So every time you buy direct, you help close the gap and help more farmers like Steve and Michelle continue to do what they do best. If you're enjoying the show, share it with someone who cares where their food comes from, and see you next time for Paddock Talk.